Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host, Khalid. But today is Friday, the 23rd of December, 2022. 1 week to go before the year comes to an end. But we've got lots to discuss with you. We'll begin with our Premier Shahbaz Sharif Saab, who has strongly condemned the suicide blast in Islamabad and also has sought a report from the police. As far as you must also be knowing, because we have been running it in our news as well, one policeman has been martyred in a suicide blast in Islamabad's I-10. And of course, there is an extremist group that has claimed responsibility for this. At least 6 people, including 4 police officers and 2 civilians, have also been injured in this suicide blast. This is, of course, in a series of incidents that has happened in Pakistan in the last few weeks and months. Pakistan is grappling with the wave of terrorism. What is being done? What needs to be done? This is going to be our first story. Our second story, ladies and gentlemen, concerns the crisis that is evolving in Punjab as far as the Punjab Assembly is concerned. Now, Governor Punjab Mohammad Badiqur Rahman denotified the Chief Minister of Punjab, Chaudhry Parvez Ilahi, upon his failure to obtain the vote of confidence. Then, of course, we had the PMLN and Pakistan People's Party who withdrew the no trust motion against Mr. Ilahi, saying it is unnecessary after his removal as a chief minister. There's also a whole showdown that happened in the court in Lahore, and as far as the latest reports are concerned, there has been a written notification given by Mr. Ilahi saying that he is not going to dissolve the Punjab Assembly. We are going to discuss the latest developments as far as that is concerned. Then in our third story, we are going to discuss the Afghan Taliban ban on the girls' education. There has been a wide condemnation of it, whether it be in Afghanistan from the women themselves, whether it be in Pakistan from our foreign minister, from our foreign office as well, or whether it be by the international bodies and international organizations. All have criticized this move by the Taliban. Why is this happening at this juncture when the Taliban need as much of support of their own people and other governments for their government to sustain itself? This is going to be our third segment. Then we are going to talk about the country's top public health institute, the NIH, that has directed health facilities and practitioners in the country to stop doing 2 tests for typhoid. These 2 tests are Vidal and Typhidot, because there is a possibility of false positive result. And this is not the first time, but now there has been a proper formal notification in this regard. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to talk about the 22nd death anniversary of legendary singer Malka Tarannum Noor Jahan that is being observed today. A legend in her own right, she continues to remain a legend for Pakistan and for our subcontinent. Let's begin with our first segment, and that concerns the incident of terrorism that has been grappling Pakistan since quite some time. In the latest incident in I-10, a policeman was martyred in a suicide blast while 6 others were injured. More in the following report.
Pakistan has rendered matchless sacrifices in combating terrorism, and particularly the martyrs and the great sacrifices of the armed forces, police, rangers and other law enforcement agencies deserve generous accolade. Operations Zarb-e-Azab and Raddul Fasad were important measures to end terrorism in the country, but fight against terrorism continues as terror threat is rearing its head again in Pakistan. A policeman was martyred and at least 6 people, including 4 police officers and 2 civilians, were injured in a suicide blast in Islamabad's I-10-4 sector. Interior Minister Rana Sanallah confirmed the 2 terrorists were killed in the blast. The Islamabad police identified the slain officer as Head Constable Adil Hussain and emphasized that terrorists had been targeting police for some time to demoralize law enforcement personnel. Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif, while strongly condemning the suicide blast in Islamabad, has sought report from the police. The Prime Minister paid tribute to gallantry of security apparatus and stated that entire nation salutes their valiant police personnel who sacrificed lives and stopped the terrorists. The plan to shed innocent blood has failed due to the action of the law enforcement agencies. Pakistan has vowed to address the external facilitation of terrorists, and attempts to spread chaos in the country through terrorism will be dealt with an iron fist.
Kaswar Klasra, leading journalist, joins us online. Kaswar Klasra, thank you very much to have joined us. Kaswar, the TTP has claimed responsibility for the attack that happened in I-10 today. Rana Sanallah Saab says 2 terrorists have been killed. Where is all of this going as far as the TTP and its different nefarious activities against Pakistan is concerned?
Well, Barsov, thank you for having me on the show once again. And let me tell you, it all shows that Tehreek-e-Pakistan, TTP, has, beaten the war drum against Pakistan, against state, against law enforcement agencies. And the gentleman who was reporting on the incident, we have seen the report, he rightly pointed out that it all, it all shows that the TTP is now fully on the front side. But let me tell you, one thing is very clear, that day before yesterday, the impressive, the army operation that was conducted by the law enforcement agencies in Banu, and the 25 people, the terrorists were perished. It was one of the most successful, the operation in the history of Pakistan's law enforcement agencies. And definitely we were, and even I was expecting some sort of, the backlash, some sort of reaction from the TTP, and it happened unfortunately. But given that the less number of casualties, and also the way the Islamabad, Islamabad police and the law enforcement agencies has, speed up and be for security across Islamabad, that was perhaps the fact that they could not even approach the target. If given in account in the statement of Interior Minister, our Federal Interior Minister Rana Sanaullah, that they were actually going to target a high-value target. The bombers.
But Kaswar, doesn't this bring to mind? Doesn't all of these incidents that we are seeing bring to mind the last time Pakistan was engulfed in such incidents way back in 2007, and the resolve of our armed forces and our defense personnel therein was also quite adamant, and that thanks to two important wars against terrorism, we got rid of all such elements. But now these elements in the form of TTP and their so-called allies are gaining ground again. How strong, in your point of view, is the resolve of our forces this time?
Well, definitely the armed forces and Pakistan's, the civilian government, they are on the same page when it comes to defeat the militancy and other things as well. But let me tell you, Barsab, you cannot rule out the foreign hand as well. Our eastern enemy has, has been finding such type of, the incident, such type of loopholes, so they have stricken again. But at this point, I think Zarb was the turning point in history of Pakistan, and I think the law enforcement agency, the Pakistan Armed Forces, and also civilian government needs to take such steps once again. And this time, I am again telling you, this time the force and also the TTP and other militant organizations, they are deadly. And according to my information, ISIS is also there. So before the ISIS, the Balochistan Liberation Army and the TTP can make, a joint hand against the Pakistani side, I think civilian government and Pakistan Armed Forces will have to take a swift reaction. And this is the only way forward to eliminate terrorism from Pakistani side. And also, one thing is important. The Pakistani side, day before yesterday, our foreign minister has rightly pointed out that Afghanistan, there are still sanctuaries of militants, hideout sanctuaries there in Afghanistan, and the government of Pakistan has to take this issue with the Taliban's government as well. This is the only way, in my opinion, which can, eliminate terrorism as well. But again, regarding your question, government of Pakistan will have to take a swift action, and armed forces will have, it needs to give free hand to the armed forces as well. And I think Zarb repeat is necessary at this point to eliminate, the terrorism from Pakistan side. This is the need of our Barsab.
All right, Kaswar Sahab, also, the fact remains that the TTP is joining hands with other extremist organizations. We are hearing of many organizations that have, been taken under the umbrella of the TTP as we speak. I don't want to give the exact number, but the number is, a bit significant.
In a few thousand.
Yes, this said, you talked about the foreign hand as well. Then, of course, there is the role of Afghanistan also to prevent all such elements to enter neighboring countries, as had been enunciated by the interim of the foreign minister of the Afghan government at that time. Do you feel that some kind of progress will be made, because the Foreign Office did issue a statement saying that they were in touch with the Afghan government, and of course the measures were being taken in order to curtail such elements?
Well, you have asked a very good question, Barsab. And yes, of course, government of Pakistan is in touch with the Taliban side as well, and we have very good relationship. We still maintain very good relationship with the Afghanistan Taliban government as well. And I think as our foreign minister has rightly pointed out that we are in touch with the Afghanistan government, and there is no denial that the sanctuaries and the hideouts of TTP, ISIS, and BLA still exist there in Afghanistan. And this is the time government of Pakistan will have to take Afghanistan government into confidence. And I think a giant venture can root out militancy not only from Pakistan and also in Afghanistan as well. I think this is the need of the government of Pakistan and also Taliban government have to sit together across the table, devise formulate a strategy to root out, because it's the greater interest of Pakistan and of course Afghanistan as well. BLA is there, ISIS is there, TTP is there, and they have not announced their the alliance, but we have seen in the past, and now we have seen right now as well, that these three deadly militant organizations have to some extent joined hands, not only against Pakistan, but also against the Taliban side as well. So Pakistan and Afghanistan, both, they will have to sit together and formulate a strategy. And this is the only way forward, because if they, at the point, if they failed, God forbid, to stop these deadly organizations, and definitely not only Pakistan, Afghanistan, but also our eastern neighbor will also, face the brunt of these organizations as well. At the moment, our intelligence agencies have credible reports that the Indians' hands are visible in such type of incident. And there is no doubt that TTP has been getting funding from India, and they have been getting all sort of, the other sides as well. But this time, Indians have to understand it, and also Afghanistan government, that at this point, Pakistan is, facing the brunt. But God forbid, if these deadly organizations make a forward move, then definitely Afghanistan and India, Pakistan, Iran, they will all have to face the brunt as well. And this is the right time
all right.
to.
Kaswar, my last question to you is very simple. Our Prime Minister says that he wants to extirpate terrorism and break the nexus between terrorists, their supporters and sympathizers, till peace and stability is achieved. This is what Shehbaz Sharif said very recently. At the same time, we see TTP trying to destabilize the country. What do you feel is the ultimate goal, ultimate aim of the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan?
Well, a very good question. Let me tell you, Pakistan has been, the target of international conspiracy as well. And on the center of this conspiracy, India has been playing a vital role. And this time, it's a clear message from the Prime Minister of Pakistan diplomatically that at this point, we are facing the brunt. But in future, you can also face the brunt of this as well. I think the Prime Minister of Pakistan has diplomatically conveyed it to New Delhi, and all the forces which are supporting and which has been supporting such type of deadly organization, that at this point we are facing the burn. But in future you can also, this is a fire which can engulf you as well. So please, for God's sake, don't be silly and support Pakistan's enforcement agency, because this fire is burning Pakistan. But in the future, you can also come into the circumstances as well. It was a diplomatically, and it was a strong border statement. And I think Prime Minister of Pakistan has conveyed his message loud and clear where he wanted to.
All right. Thank you very much, Kaswar, Klasra. Thank you so very much to have joined us, to have talked to us about a very important topic, and that is the rise of terrorism in our country through organizations such as the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, and our country's resolve, along with our armed forces, to thwart all such elements that are trying to create havoc or instability in our country. Our second segment, ladies and gentlemen, concerns the crisis that has emanated as far as the Punjab government and the Punjab Assembly is concerned. The leader of the opposition, Imran Khan, had announced the Assembly's dissolution. The coalition leaders had reacted, and of course trying to prevent the assemblies from being dissolved. As a result of it, there was a notification that was sent to the Chief Minister of Punjab in order to gain a vote of confidence that he did not take, and as a result of that, the Governor of Punjab had denotified Chief Minister of Punjab Chaudhry Parvez Elahi about on his failure to obtain the vote of confidence from the Punjab Assembly. What happened afterwards? The case went to the Lahore High Court, wherein the PML and the PPP withdrew the no trust motion against Mr. Elahi, saying it was unnecessary after his removal as a Chief Minister. At the same time, as far as the latest reports go, Mr. Elahi has also given a written statement in which he has explicitly said that he is not going to dissolve the Punjab Assembly. That and more, as the details evolve, we have with us Mr. Niaz Murtaza, political analyst, joining us to discuss this very issue. Niaz Murtaza Sahab, thank you very much to have joined us. Niaz Murtaza Sahab, why is what is happening actually happening? Why create instability in a country when we are facing many other such issues that need to be given priority by all the parties concerned?
Of PTI politics that when it loses power or is not able to win power, it tries to get into power through these kind of tactics. We had seen the same thing in 2014 when it was clear that there was a free and fair election that was held, but still the PTI raised the bogey of rigging falsely and organized a 4-month-long dharna in the middle of Islamabad to create instability. And it's the same thing now. It lost a fairly held vote of no confidence back in April. In fact, it tried to thwart it illegally by going against the constitution, by the speaker, just sending the notice of vote of no confidence away on his own without any authority. And then since then, it has been, trying to whip up this story that, it was removed illegally with the result of some sort of a conspiracy involving the US, involving the establishment and the opposition, but it hasn't given any single piece of evidence. In fact, the evidence is piling up that all these claims were false, including audio leaks and so on, and some of his own statements now, which contradict each other. So, but I mean, their goal is quite clear. Somehow they want to, displace this government, hold elections in the hope that, they will come to power. And if they lose the election, then they'll probably start the bogey of rigging again. So that's the nature of their politics, unfortunately.
What in your point of view, Niaz Murtaza Sahab, is going to be the outcome of this constitutional crisis that is going on in Punjab as we speak?
Well, as you were explaining, I think it's moving towards resolution now. I think the LHC is giving some steer. Some of, the conflicts, the complications are receding. So, the vote of no confidence motion, which had been submitted in parallel by the opposition, has been withdrawn. The denotification has been struck down. So now what it means is that at some point in time, I think the Lahore High Court is going to ask the Speaker to hold a vote of confidence as required by the PDM. And then, the Chief Minister will have to prove his majority, get majority votes, which is, I think, 186 votes in an assembly of 371. So in that sense, I think there is a bit for both sides in this. Imran Khan was interested in, dissolving the Punjab Assembly to put pressure on the federal government for immediate elections everywhere. That is not going to happen for several weeks now. But on the other side, the PTM will also not be able to remove Mr. Parvez Elahi immediately, and they will have to vote until the Lahore High Court orders the vote of confidence to be held. So there's a bit for both sides in it.
All right, there is a lot of discussion as far as Article 130 is concerned, and saying that when the Assembly is in session, the Governor is unable to call a new sitting. Then there is a Rule 22 of the Punjab Assembly Rule of Procedures as well, and other laws that give proper the responsibility to the Governor so that he can take measures such as this one. Where does the rule of law go as far as an issue such as the current one is concerned?
Well, I think those issues are going to be looked into. because today was a preliminary hearing and the court did not go into all this nitty gritty. But if you look at it, I don't think those issues were so strong that the court would have immediately said that the governor had no authority to call another session when a session is ongoing. Now, I assume that these issues will be raised later as the trial proceeds. But at the moment, I think the court did not attach such a huge weight to them to give a verdict in favor of the chief minister immediately on those points. So my guess is that ultimately, the vote of confidence will have to be held. The court might give a little more time to the chief minister to, gather his numbers and so on. But ultimately, he will have to, pass through a vote of confidence.
What are the outcomes of the vote of confidence if it goes one way or the other? Do you feel that options that are being discussed, such as the governor rule, can be put into place if the constitutional issue in Punjab continues to wreak havoc in the province?
Well, I don't think this governor rule is on the table anymore, because the court has reinstated Parvez Elahi as a full-fledged chief minister. And, the trial is going to proceed, and I assume that during this period, the federal government will also not try to impose governor's rule. So it's going to be decided in the court, and the most likely verdict that I see coming from the Lahore High Court is that it will ask the chief minister to hold, to get a vote of confidence, and it will order the speaker to, hold a session for that very purpose.
But the outcome, the necessary outcome, as also the latest reports are saying that the Lahore High Court has sought a timing for the vote of confidence from the Punjab Speaker. Do you feel that the Punjab Speaker is going to comply with it, or is the current PTI government and their allies, will they be seeking other measures in order to continue with this situation that has escalated in Punjab?
Well, I think everybody will have to wait until the Lahore High Court gives a final verdict. I don't think, and once it gives a verdict for holding a vote of confidence, I don't think the Speaker or the Chief Minister can do anything. Then they will just have to gather the votes, and it looks a bit dicey because, the numbers are so evenly balanced. I think they have about 187 votes. And they need 186. So even if they lose 2 or 3 votes, if some of the people from PMLQ or the PTI don't vote in favor of the vote of confidence, then Parvez Elahi could be in trouble.
All right. What does that bode as far as the future of politics in Punjab is concerned? Do you feel people understand the gravity of the situation, that people understand how one party and their allies are deliberately trying to destabilize the largest province in the country?
Well, I mean, the PTI has an edge on the social media, so it's able to, put across its message more ably than, the PDM is. So there are a lot of people who are still believing in, all this conspiracy theory story, and, the fact that, he was removed illegally, and the fact that, elections are needed. I think the fact of the matter is that, the PTI came to power in 2018 through a fairly rigged election, and still it was given 3.5 years. So I think it owes it to the PDM, morally at least, that, it should give it the 10 months to complete its term, and then, elections be held sometimes in October next year. But ultimately, I think the truth will prevail, and more people will see the fact, hopefully, that about the truth of PTI politics, that it just thrives on, spinning lies and conspiracy theories to, create one sort of crisis after another, just in order to get into power somehow.
Niaz, there's one thing that I'd like to understand. How important does the role of the judiciary become now under the current circumstances in Punjab? Because if you look at the past, whenever a decision has come in favor of the PTI and its allies, the decision has been hailed far and wide. And whenever something has come against their whims and fancies, there has been a whole hue and cry about how justice is being denied. So under these current circumstances, how important does the role of the judiciary become?
Well, ultimately, the judiciary will decide, and it's unfortunate that all these political issues are going and getting decided within the judiciary one after another. This is the third or the fourth time that the matter has gone related to the Punjab Assembly. And even the judiciary gives some decisions, but then one side or the other tries to whip up trouble again, and then you have to go back to the judiciary. So I hope this time again, there is a decision that will be accepted by all the sides, and hopefully, there will be a political dialogue that will start in the few weeks, because I think the next hearing is now on January 11th, so there's still about 2 to 3 weeks available for the political parties to sit down and try to resolve it among themselves and come to some sort of an agreement without involving the judiciary.
Niaz sahab, it's very interesting. This is my last question. It's very interesting that you use the word dialogue, because this current government has been trying to contact the opposition to evolve some kind of charter of economy. This has borne no fruit whatsoever. There have been, feelers from this government side to bring the opposition to talks. That has had no reaction whatsoever. In fact, there is a whole horde of criticisms on, all the different organizations, persons, people have been named in the past as well and have been accused of A, B and C. I don't want to go into the details of that. But is dialogue a possibility under the circumstances through which the current opposition has evolved itself?
Well, one hopes so, but one is, if you look at the past, the PTI hasn't really, shown the inclination to sit down. It considers a huge insult, Imran Khan himself, to sit down with the opposition. He immediately goes into, all his talk about, I don't want to say sit down with thieves and so on, whereas, he's filled his own party with thieves. The person that he used to call the biggest thief of Punjab, he made him the chief minister of Punjab under his own majority. So, but, this is the nature of this politics, dialogue and, going back to the assembly, normal politics doesn't suit him. Because then, his own bad performance, his own, lies come to the surface. And the only way he can do politics is to keep whipping up crisis after crisis and, keeping a very high pitch kind of, politics in place where he's accusing everybody, every institution, every entity, every political party, even foreign powers of, doing a conspiracy against him. And that's the nature of his politics.
Niaz, Murtaza, a very sad state of affairs. Under the normal circumstances, we would have wanted to see all political parties together working towards resolution of the crisis that Pakistan is engulfed in, whether it be our economy, whether it be the crisis post the floods and the millions of people who are left homeless and shelterless and without the necessary resources. We would have ideally liked to see that, but unfortunately, we are seeing crises such as these emanate because of I don't know whether I should call it ego, whether I should call it machinations of this current opposition that we call the PTI. Thank you very much, Niaz Murtaza Saab, to have joined us, to have talked to us about the current crisis that has engulfed Punjab. And of course, this crisis hasn't ended. Let's see what the coming days have in store for the province. Our third story, ladies and gentlemen, concerns Taliban's ban on girl education. We have seen recently how the Taliban have banned women from getting higher education. Although there has been a statement of late that it is because of the way they dress themselves that this ban has taken place. Nevertheless, the condemnation has come from far and wide, from Pakistan and from all the important countries concerned across the globe. More in the following report.
Afghanistan is gripped by a serious humanitarian crisis which requires interim Afghan government to honour its international commitments. International community made the right to education for all women a sticking point in negotiations over aid and recognition of the Taliban regime. Despite promising a softer rule when they ascended to power last year, the Taliban have ratcheted up restrictions on all aspects of women's lives, ignoring international outrage. After the takeover of the country by Taliban, universities were forced to implement new rules, including gender-segregated classrooms and entrances, while women were only permitted to be taught by women professors and all men. Afghanistan's Taliban rulers banned university education for females nationwide as the hardline circles continue to crush women's rights to education and freedom. The Taliban in March blocked girls from returning to secondary schools, and several Taliban officials assured that the secondary education ban is only temporary. US State Department spokesman Ned Price remarked that the Taliban should expect that this decision, which is in contravention to commitments that they have made repeatedly and publicly to their own people, will carry concrete costs for them. UN Chief's Deputy Special Representative for Afghanistan is deeply concerned and stated that education is a fundamental human right, and a door closed to women's education is a door closed to the future of Afghanistan. Pakistan has expressed disappointment over the Taliban's ban on university education for women, but suggested that best approach remains engagement with Afghanistan's rulers.
We'll be back after a short break. Stay tuned. Now, in our third segment, we've been joined by Hassan Khan, who's, of course, an analyst and a journalist, and we're going to discuss with him this ban on education on Afghan women by the Afghan interim government. Hassan, thank you very much to have joined us. Hassan, what brings the Afghan Taliban government to ban education? We've heard the statement saying that it is because of the way they dress. Is there some truth to it, or is there more to it?
I think they're threatened by the fact that women can be more progressive. They can have a stand. They can have their own stand in the society or in the world, and they can have a progressive way of working together for the world community and their own society. So I think this is the core reason why the Afghan Taliban feel threatened, because I don't think it has anything to do with the way they dress. It has more to do with how they perceive women as a whole.
All right,
And
Hassan,
it's unfortunate.
if you look at the way the women have been treated by the Afghan Taliban's government, they have been pushed out of government jobs, paid a fraction of their former salary to stay at home. They are barred from traveling without a male relative. They must cover up in public. They are prohibited from going to parks, fairs, gyms, and public baths. And now this happens. Where is all of this leading to? Do you feel there is going to be some kind of a stoppage to these activities under pressure, or do you feel that this is going to continue?
All of this you've mentioned has been happening since September 2021. In March 2022, we see they banned secondary education. In May, they banned intercity travel. In November, they banned their, walk to parks or going to the gym. And then now they have also banned higher education in terms of university, like master's or PhD. So I would say that to stop them, the international community needs to put up the pressure on full scale, and especially by the West, because I think the West has played a part in promoting education for women in the last 20 or so years. But and all of that progression is going away in just 1 year. So I think the government across the world, they have done the right thing by not fully recognizing the Taliban's government. The Taliban needs to mend its way, otherwise its regressive policy may result in more catastrophe for Afghanistan in terms of employment opportunities, increase in poverty rate. Poverty rate is actually near universal right now. So there's a lack of basic necessities alongside education as well for women. And by pushing women out of the public sphere, the Taliban is sending a message to the world that they don't care about anything. But the pressure must be built on by the international community, and that is the only way the Taliban.
You talk of pressure by the international community. I'd like to quote something that the ministers from the G7 said very recently. They said Taliban policies designed to erase women from public life will have consequences for how our countries engage with the Taliban. This is a very strong statement. Can the Taliban allow themselves to be isolated the way they are doing through the measures they are taking?
I think they are already isolated in the world. Nobody has recognized them for as a matter of fact. So they are already isolated. Back channel talks are like they've been happening for a long time, but that doesn't mean that there's a full recognition. And you have also noted that the OIC has condemned the ban on education.
Saudi Arabia has condemned the ban. Saudi Arabia has condemned officially the ban.
UAE has come. back in the 90s, there were only 3 governments which recognized the Taliban, and all three countries have now condemned this action of the Taliban, which shows that the Taliban is still stuck in the past century while the world has progressed.
All right.
Into the
How do
21st
you
century.
see the statement by the Minister for Higher Education, Nida Mohammad Nadeem, who says that women students had ignored Islamic instructions, including on what to wear or bring, accompanied by a male relative while traveling, and that was the reason that they were banned from getting higher education?
These are whimsical statements. Nothing can be justified. These are whimsical statements. So the minister or the higher authorities in Afghanistan, they need to realize that education is a fundamental right. It's been under the UN Universal Declaration for Human Rights, 1948, Article 26. It's something which the international community must push for the Taliban to come back to its senses. And of course, we cannot deny the fact that the Taliban are ruling Afghanistan. They're a neighbor. We cannot afford any kind of hostilities. But then on the other side, we see that they are pushing the international, they're testing the international community's resolve in a way.
But why are they testing the international community when they know the situation that they are in exactly at this moment?
I think there could be a larger picture behind it. There could be security dynamics. There could be other economic dynamics. I think they might want more aid, more money. It could be about that. I mean, in the larger scheme of things.
Right, but in the long run, what do you foresee as far as the current stance of the Afghan Taliban government and the previous stances on it, whether it be on women's education, whether it be on other issues? I was just going through as for women education, women higher education, and the decisions that have been taken by the Afghan Taliban. The universities had been forced to implement new rules, including gender segregated classrooms and entrances. Women were only permitted to be taught by professors who were female or old men. And again, these are just some of the decisions that had been taken. Why segregate? Why deny women the right to education, something that even our religion allows?
I think it has, as I said before, it has more to do with the larger scheme of things, probably. Because I think the Taliban, they want to get some kind of recognition, some kind of further money, more aid, or...
But is this the way to get recognition or to get aid? I mean, shouldn't the way to get education and aid is to comply by the international standards, by international rules of human rights of women, of rights of education to the women and the girls?
From their perspective, it's a pressure tactic, but it's going to backfire very badly on them, in my opinion. Because the world cannot afford such kind of action like we saw in the 90s, from 1993 to 2001. That was the worst era for Afghanistan, in my opinion, in terms of how the society collapsed. I mean, it was completely cut off from... And they're doing the same again, and this time to get some kind of recognition from the world. And that cannot be afforded to them in this way.
All right, Hassan, let's see how the coming days unfold as far as the decisions such as these are concerned. The whole world is looking at Afghanistan, and so are we. And let's hope better sense prevails, as this is all we can hope for. Thank you so very much, Hassan. Yes, thank you so very much, Hassan. We're a bit short of time. We would have continued, but we're a bit short of time. That's why we have to end our discussion right here. Thank you so very much to have joined us. Of course, we wanted to talk about the NIH that has stopped the typhoid test. We've talked about these 2 typhoid tests that are Vidal and Typhidot, that it no longer wants because it gives false positive results, and also the fact that today is the 22nd death anniversary of legendary singer Malka Tarannum Noor Jahan. Her legacy goes on. We will always remember her, and I just wanted to talk about this for a few seconds before we end the show on this last day of this very week. We wish you a very great weekend. We'll see you inshallah on Monday with new story segments that pertain to us, you and Pakistan. Stay safe and of course help those who are in need, especially post the floods. Allah Hafiz.